Hello everyone, this is another episode of Hasu Hour. The map is Lerlac Crest, and the matchup is Protoss versus Zerg. This is me, Zerg, spawning in the bottom right. My opponent, Freedman, spawning in the bottom left. It's a relatively small map, which is somewhere between expansion sparse and expansion moderate. Set up in a basic format with your natural, which is a little open to two medium-sized ramps leading up to it, and then a second natural with these droppable rocks here. My opponent opens pool and then gas. I open gate and then gas, and I prepare to expansion deny a little bit here. And my opponent simply goes ahead and expands at his second natural. Following up with core, second gas, pylon, and pool finishes. And I scout the saved larva, but I guess he was just saving up for this third hatchery at his natural. 3 expansions now by Zerg. I would have liked to see maybe a little earlier clean here for him just to get that production going. It's one of the advantages of a relatively early pool build. You can get those queens out and begin mass producing them. So definite mistake here. There we go, finally getting the queen. As Zerg, I like to get at least 2 queens per base. You need to spread creep. You need to stack the inject larvae so that when you're microing, you're still getting the max production. And they're a decent defensive idea. So following up with 3 gate, planning a little early offense, adepts in production. I do start long distance mining a little bit here, being 16-16. There's really no reason not to, unless maybe you suspect an imminent offensive strike. Nice supply advantage for myself, for Protoss here. 14 supply advantage, kind of pivotal in this early game. My opponent does now have 3 queens for his 3 hatcheries, so he should be able to get that eco online pretty soon, and that will give him a nice edge. Marching now with the adepts, and there's Zealot companion in tow. The adept, of course, a new unit with a resonating glaives upgrade. Psionic transfer engaged. Well, the shade is invincible during the transfer. The original adept is not, so make sure it's not really a get out of a bad situation move, although it can help a little bit. It's best used sort of in advance of when you're in trouble. When you think they're sending units to the adept's location, then you transfer before the units get there, and then if they go after the shade, you can cancel it. right? You don't have to actually do the transfer. And if they don't go after the shade, then you just let it go through, right? So I am managing to at least cause some problems for my opponent, if not doing any devastating damage. Getting that Nexus online, making that natural expansion, just to try to keep up eco-wise with the Zerg. Roaches now coming into play, and these adepts are going to be taking some very heavy damage here and eliminated. But all in all, I did at least manage to keep my opponent from powering drones. You'll see his mineral-wise is not too bad. He's getting supply blocked here. You know, when you're sort of panicked and focusing on just preventing this threat, you don't have time to carefully plan your eco and your macro, and you end up getting supply blocked. You end up, you know, with these 2 drones on the mineral patch. Oh, let's take a look at the income. 12 harvester edge here for myself. Yeah, I'm still behind a base. Layer tech for the Zerg. Possibly going to try to get these roach upgrades. Still supply block 42. There we go. Finally out of the supply block. Another adept force coming to harass. Not sure really where this queen was going. And this is sort of, this is what I like here, right? That roach force would have devastated my adepts. But he's got to choose. Is he going to go after the adepts? Is he going to go after the shades? If he goes after the shades, you can retreat. No problem. He goes after the adepts. You go into the base, continue causing havoc. So it's a nice, nice ability to sort of be 2 places at once, to set up threads all over the place. Of course, the adept only hits ground. Very vulnerable to a Mutilist switch. Really sort of a Hungry Zerg style for Freedmen, which is nice. It's nice to see unit play. A little changeling action here. Going to try to infiltrate my base. Maybe I'll try some sort of offensive, although these 8 roaches will not do much with the mothership core present and this defensive pylon setup. Perhaps his plan is more to contain. Maybe scout this natural here. Make sure that I'm still 1 base down. And he is sort of getting towards saturation. He's smart not to get his gas at his natural or his expo. He's a little bit gas glutted, as am I. Although the disruptors are going to help take care of that somewhat. Still a slight supply edge for the Protoss player, and more adepts warping in. Nice balance actually between eco and military. It's always for my opponent, Ravengers coming into play. It's always a balancing act. You know, are you going to eco? Are you going to pump? And we have combat. Ravengers throwing down their corrosive bile, missing. The adepts just getting in there, left the disruptor behind, and they are going to have to flee. Nice little adept force here, 20 adepts. They do have the resonating glaives upgrade, so they do have that faster attack speed. And more corrosive bile, but the adepts are dodging. Not going to dodge that. And just raining fire down on the Protoss forces. This is a devastating... Oh, but the Purification Nova manages to take out 2 Ravengers. It is just heavy casualties on both sides there. The Ravengers raining fire out of the sky. And, oh, the adept force just completely destroyed. But it looks like 2 disruptors may end up getting away. They're off the creep. They're retreating back to their base. A really clear win there for the Zerg forces. Now Zerg with a 20 supply edge, and look at this creep spread. This is just expert creep spread. Phenomenal. Really excellent. He's got vision all over the place. Really nice OL surround. Uh, for my part, I am setting up a sneak expo at the top, hoping it won't be scouted. And my opponent still needs to get his expos fully saturated. He has now setting up the gas and a slight edge in terms of income because of that third base. A little probe transfer action here, and more on the way. So this is going to hopefully balance out this eco a little bit. Double Brahms pump, and I am starting to throw in some stalkers just in case he does try some sort of muta push. Hydralisk then now double upgrade capacity with the Evo chambers. Let's take a look at upgrades. +1 attack for the Zerg and +1 shields for Protoss. He does manage to sneak in a does manage to sneak in a changeling, but he is not able to confront the Protoss force head on. Supply now evening out a little bit. Third base fully online, and kind of a nice harvester slight income advantage, although behind on the gas. And looks like Friedman here, continuing with his Roach pump, is finally scouting this this northern base. I am trying a sort of a cannon line defense. Units are massing, and we have combat. Purification Novas. And this is sort of a neat idea here by my opponent to mix his units in with mine in order to dodge the Purification Nova. Pretty depleting battle on both sides. Real war of attrition going on here. It's tough to call a winner. Supply count is equalized, and really tough to say. This game is too close to call. Fourth base here for the Zerg coming online. Fourth base for the Toss coming online. One problem is it's a little more difficult to safely transfer probes this long distance. That is one of the problems with this sort of sneak expo idea. It's illogical, which is the advantage in that your opponent won't expect it, but its problem is it's illogical. Really nice corrosive bile there, anticipating the presence of the Protoss force. It didn't hit, but it's a nice idea. But that attack force is going to be wiped out, and Toss is going to grab a slight supply advantage. This really impressive creep spread all the way into my base. It's a little embarrassing, frankly. I do have the obs now, and I am gonna say that this sort of creep spread cannot stand. This aggression cannot stand Lebowski. So I am at least gonna eradicate it from my base. But this is what you want. You want you want to be able to move your army quickly. And perhaps more importantly, you want that vision, right? It's basically a map hack, a legal map hack. So great work on the creep spread. And my opponent here grabbing the high ground, morphing some more Ravagers, and he's going to try a little hit and run corrosive bile, very nice. He does have a lot of Ravagers, and it's getting tough now with this sort of larger army to dodge all that bile. You know, getting some kills there, uh, dodging the purification. No, oh my God, purification Nova taking out, but oh, so many Ravagers just cremated by this Hellfire. So actually, pretty close battle there. Looks like Zerg may have gotten the upper hand despite a few really savage Novas. But nice hit and run attacks with the bile and overall a Zerg win. And it's now an 11 supply advantage. Although Protoss has a ton of unspent resources here, so once those are spent, the supply count should equalize a little bit. Protoss also supply glutted, which is not really a big deal at this stage in the game. And it is important to have that infrastructure in place. Generally, you want to avoid having too much supply, especially early on, because there's opportunity costs, right? You're just building mad pylons. You're not building stalkers or even cannons to defend this expo, something like that. And Ravagers coming in, taking out cannons with their bile, attacking this base. This is a cornerstone of the Protoss economy. So he's rushing here to defend it. All the cannons are gone. This sort of disconnected group getting beat down by the Ravagers, and in come the Disruptors with the Purification Nova. This oh my God, just so much gore and blood on the battlefield. 30 supply advantage for Toss, down to 15. As Zerg spends a little money and really a massive resource glut here. So I really need to start spending some money, getting to max. Let's take a look at upgrades. So +2 attack, +1 shields, and +2 attack, +1 shields, or carapace. So pretty even. Zerg now with the complete left side of the map, except for this expansion. I've got the complete right side, except for this, so still a fairly even game. Toss now getting a slight supply advantage. And a little dancing here. Zerg takes the high ground. Is throwing down these corrosive biles, but not really hitting. And we are going to see a little bit of lurker play. Very nice. 2-2 attacks, 2-2 ups now. And confrontation ensues. Both sides sort of jockeying for position. He is going to set up the lurker trap. And in comes the Nova, just devastating that lurker. The Purification Nova does hit burrowed units, does a ton of damage. And corrosive bile being thrown down, picking off. That's those stray units there being picked off. Looks like Zerg might be trying a counter. And he sets up the lurker trap, but does not really work. And there is this obs anyway, although even with the obs, it's very difficult to attack burrowed lurkers, although the disruptor is certainly up to the task. So kind of a nice idea, but it doesn't really bear fruit. Although this offense does sort of buy Zerg time to get these bases online Really nice management of his macro here. It's been a combat intensive game, but my opponent has managed to make sure he doesn't have any sort of excess workers. Um, he's got every base sort of working as best he can, making an efficient use of the minerals, and getting some nice hits with the corrosive bile. Both sides maxed here, so very close game. Um, Protoss does sort of have a bit of a resource advantage, um, and perhaps a harvester advantage. Although who knows, that might turn against him in sort of the late game if you have excess workers. It hinders your ability to produce an army, although you can always sacrifice them, run them into the enemy forces. Now we're into sort of a base race situation. Both opponents taking out each other's expansion, saying, you know what? Why should we fight each other when we could just rain down terror on these civilians? So little defensive force here, challenging the Zerg army and getting crushed. And here's the offensive force taking on the Sunken, getting a bunch of Overlord kills, devastating the Zerg economy, and going for the main. Going to take out these buildings so that Zerg cannot build any more units. Hopefully, is the plan. So destroying this sort of tech tree, taking out the lurker den. Goodbye upgrade centers. And Zerg for his is taking out the Protoss main, getting that tech, and all the buildings, the crucial buildings. So this is a classic base race scenario, and it's going to be tough for either side to really recover and get their production back ongoing without tech and without production facilities. In the case of the toss, well, I guess in the case of the Zerg too, as those hatcheries are taking some damage. I decided to prioritize getting rid of these bases and moving forward with simply eliminating these hatcheries. Zerg now looking like he's going to defend. He does have a lurker attack at this forward base. These two ecos still online, and a few lurkers here taking out the Nexus. One more base gone for the Zerg player. Those Hydralisks are not going to get a chance to link up with the main army. Still fairly equal supply counts here, and the toss player is now in a sort of reverse a negative supply count situation here. Looks like these bases weren't scouted, so a stalker goes up there, scouts it, sees the tech, sees the fledgling eco, and says, "This can't stand. Gotta get that spire or the layer." And the Zerg now confronting the Protoss player, getting some nice corrosive bile hits in, sticking to the creep, and not wanting to lose his army, but not wanting to lose his bases either. So some Purification Novas here, keeping him at bay, expecting the attack. And ooh, these are poorly aimed. Poorly aimed. One lurker going down to Purification Nova. Still fairly balanced. Zerg getting this base online here. This base is blockaded and really not much point in investing in it. A few drones being transferred to this last active base. Lurkers completely wiping out this, so it's down to one base. Toss is trying to set up some production facilities. Does have some money saved. Zerg's got a little production here that he can use at his main. He does have a decent Overlord count, 184 max supply, but the supply count 152 to 124 looks like TOS might have the superior army. Purification Novas just devastating the Zerg forces. Must have lost 20 supply there. Really brutal hit for the Zerg at this point. Getting some nice corrosive biles down. He needs to get these free kills. He needs to do something to stay in the game. TOS with a main back online, a sort of transparent main. Zerg does manage to save those 2 lurkers. And the last base has been scouted. Corrosive bile raining down, doing some damage. Zerg doing a nice job keeping his forces grouped. He is, but what is he going to do once the other Protoss army rejoins his base? This sort of adopted main just getting devastated by the Zerg forces, but a 60 supply count here for advantage for the Protoss player. Although that is going to be cut in half here as the isolated stalkers are eliminated, and actually no obs for the Protoss forces. So this one stalker is kind of a bit of a problem, and this robotics facility is going to get shut down before the obs can be built. So pretty nice supply, 24 supply advantage, but actually no obs. And this base getting built again. Zerg does have some production still in the form of these hatcheries, but it looks like this last base is going to get sniped. And Protoss actually down to very few buildings, down to one pylon. Once this base gets wiped out, of course, buildings are the key determinant to who wins, despite the fact that they're not of the most strategic importance. Generally, they are building a nexus, but actually Zerg could win this game. Those Hydralisks could have just won the game, and the nexus actually very key in order to prevent the vision that a non-nexus state gives you. And now the Purification Novas using a stalker to try to see where that lurker is. The Purification Nova from the Disruptor, of course, can target Zerg. And oh my god, just absolute devastation. And that is going to be the game. And the lurker is gone, and it is over. Oh my god.